if you're just joining us for the first time or just as a refresher, we're going to start the next session. We ask that you would add any questions that you have into the chat. We'll be monitoring that, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end of all of the presentations and lightning talks from this session. So this is session 2, Tools and DIY. We have 2 presentations and 2 lightning talks. We'll start with a presentation, Modifying Koha to use as a local author's catalog. Welcome Fred King from MedStar Washington Hospital Center. Go ahead, Fred, you can take it away.
Okay. I hope you can see my slides and nothing else.
I think I see the presenter version of your slides because I see the current slide and the next slide. So maybe.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. Hold on. Actually had 2 screens going.
It always picks the wrong one as the.
Absolutely. Yes. The last time I gave this presentation, I also did a live software demonstration. What could possibly go wrong? Well, everything. Okay, let me try this again. Okay, hope it's better now.
Yeah, that looks better. Yeah.
All right. 2 things before I begin. First of all, I have a lot of material to get through, so this is going to be like one of those 5 European countries in 2 days. Okay, we're now leaving Italy. We are now in Switzerland. It is known for chocolate and mountains and nothing else. Now we're coming up to Germany. Please reach under your seat for the bratwurst and the sauerkraut and the beer. Second of all, I've been here from the beginning. You're making me feel like the poor kid from across town, because all of you have much fancier, better staffed, and better funded projects than I do, because project funding for my project was 0. But never mind. Okay. This is Modifying Koha to use as a journal citation catalog. Obviously, I'm speaking for myself and nobody else. Here's the obligatory cat photo. Every presentation by a librarian has to have a cat. What is wrong with the rest of you? Okay, so MedStar migrated its ILS to Koha in 2013 or so. Oh, wait a minute. What's a Koha? Yeah, I should probably mention that. Open source integrated library system. Runs on Linux. No licensing fees. Free to download. Free to use. That is free as in free kittens, not free beer. You can do it alone, which is what I did, because we didn't have money. If you have money, there are some really great support vendors. And you don't like what they're doing, you can take your database and go to another one. And since we all have an interest in it, it's a community, because we're a little more active and interested in what's going on. Because if I have an enhancement I want to suggest, I can. If I have any money, I can fund it or talk other people into funding it. And it's infinitely configurable. And I used to be an editor, and I know what infinitely means. Okay, their website is kohacommunity.org. I am part of the US version, koha-us.org. I gave this presentation a couple of months ago at a conference in New Hampshire. I had an hour. Now I have 15 minutes. Comes with instructions. It has documentation. It supports an astonishing variety of languages. What do you need? Well, a server, network connection, someone who kind of knows what they're doing. I didn't really when I started this. Our catalog runs on 80 gigabyte hard drive, 4 gig RAM. I have actually done a presentation where I set it up on a Raspberry Pi, which is about, well, cat included for scale. A new one is coming in, new version of the Raspberry Pi is coming out next month, which is even better than all the others. Might start to get realistic. This is what the main screen looks like. I find it really intuitive. You want to circulate a book, click on circulation. You want to set things up, administration, cataloging. So this whole project started with Authors Day. The library been following local authors for a very long time. Before I started in 2005, then we got reference managers, started putting them in a database, producing a printed bibliography. We don't have that anymore, so we're using Zotero, also free. So let's see. We have a database of local authors, each with its own record. We have software designed to search and display records. Well, given the title of my presentation, you can probably figure out what I decided to try. 3 parts. Modify MARC record to fit your record, configure Koha, and then harvest the records. Deadline to MARC. By the way, this is going to be fairly MARC heavy. So if you're not a cataloger, you might want to go get a cup of tea. You know, I assume all of you know what Medline is. We use Ovid Medline. I'm using it for the catalog because, well, I've been using it for 20 years. And I know it. This is what a brief display looks like. And if you call up the complete reference, you can see there are an awful lot of tags that you might want to display. And in fact, these are all the tags that are available. And I decided, well, the ones with the blue check marks are probably the ones I want to include in the author's catalog. Warning, I'm about to do some really horrible things to MARC records. If you're a cataloger, you might want to go out and get your pearls. Some of the records converted easily. ISSN goes in the 022. Title, obviously 245. Author's name, 700, etc. Some I had to kind of change a little bit. The department, I use the tag for occupation. Publication type is function. Local holdings under with. And for this version of the author's catalog, I wanted to include the institution, and for residents, their program, their degree, and their resident status, PGY1, PGY2, tagged to the individual author. This is one of the things I decided when I revised the catalog earlier this year. At the request of the head of the resident internal medicine training program. Some of them, kicking and screaming into new fields. Journal name, 253. Orchid. But your catalog doesn't have an 858? Well, mine does. As I say, infinitely configurable. And it is really easy in Koha to add a new tag, whether it's a standard MARC field or not. Just put in, let's say I want a 701, name of primary author's first pet. So there's the name. Here I'm creating subfield A. There it is. Then you have to configure it to index and display fields. Normal catalogs, you don't have to do that, but Koha is infinitely configurable. Have we seen that before? I think so. And it comes with a nifty new thing in recent versions called Elasticsearch. On the left are the names of the fields that are indexed and the label. I could probably change the name. And each field is mapped to a certain MARC record. So for example, author is 700A or 100A, 110. And you can map it to new fields. For example, I tried interest age level is publication status 065, grade level is the Koha index, Medline status 265T. Sort of like putting a new label on an existing container, like this bottle of raspberry syrup with gasoline. I wouldn't recommend that, by the way. Then you have to display them. And there are some fields you have to display. The logo page, you have to add things to the advanced search page. There are two different displays for records, the search results, and how a single record is displayed. I'm not going to go into a lot of coding. I might show you 2 or 3 lines of code. This is a standard search box, author, subject, ISBN, etc. Well, it's pretty easy to change that to institution, department, form of publication, PMID, etc. And this standard advanced search. And I added a few other things. Subject heading, articles only, name of the journal, Medline publication type, etc. Okay, this is a bit of code, I know. But if you look at it carefully, you can see the keyword, and then value KW is the shortcut to the index keyword. Code institution is institution. It looks like complete gibberish now, I know. It did to me when I started doing this. And it took me an awful lot of different versions to get it right, but it is possible. Okay, here's what the results page looks like. Citation, institution, department. This particular one is written by my colleague and boss, Leila Heimlich. You know how nurses say you can't search beyond 5 years? They challenge that. And here's what it looks like in this full detail page. And all the ones in blue are indexed. Click on that. Bring up everything else by Washington Hospital Center or library or Leila Heimlich. PMID, there's only one, so there's no real need to search it. And again, more gibberish, but the PMID, an institution, you can tell from the institution, there's a little more code, get into to add an index. That's not indexed, and that's indexed. All right, it's ready. Now, let's get some citations. I have several item types. Right now, I'm discussing journal articles. The person who did the conference and poster presentation database retired in August. She had this silly idea that since she was over 70, she deserved to retire. I don't understand. I started working on books, but then I came down with the flu and was out for a month. So it's okay. Who publishes? I'm sure you have a far better idea of that than I do. Where does it show up? I'm only doing Medline citations. That's the only place I have to look. I set up an auto alert in Ovid looking for subnames institutions, keywords. I look for MedStar, Washington Hospital Center, National Rehabilitation Hospital. For a while, I was looking for individual authors. It produced a whole lot of, dozens, maybe hundreds of citations, maybe one of which was relevant. Cost-benefit analysis. They really want to be in the catalog? Please tell me. Okay, auto alerts are sent to the folder. I'm going to skip over a few things. Download, remove duplicates. Citations already eliminated. There's a MedStar hospital in Turkey. No, we don't want them. There's MedStar Air Service in Adelaide, in South Australia. No, some citations we already have. Let's say in pre-press, and now there's the citation in print. Okay, for this particular one, just the one article. Can export it in Reference Manager. I say you don't have to. Could be in RIS. I've been doing that. Everything's set up. There's no point in changing it. Here's what the tags look like. And then you have an awful lot of search and replace. Look for every name. See if it belongs there. Fortunately, there's a shortcut called Replace Text. Looks for everything in the left column, replaces it with what is in the right column. That's an awful lot of time. So it looks for example, not found, Heimlich asked Layla, places it with Heimlich, Layla. The field B is the individual institution tag for that name, and the Washington Hospital Center. Now I change it to not found, run it through replace text, and here we have Washington Hospital Center. Then start looking for all the not founds. Those are either not part of MedStar or they need to be added to the database. Not found just makes it a lot easier. Add a few other tags like the fiscal year.
Fred, I hate to jump in, but we're just a little over time right now.
Oh, okay. Then all I'm going to say is replace text, open and mark edit, upload it. Mark edit's wonderful. There's a lot of things. I need to give credit to Terry Reese. Just modify that a little bit. And can I have another 30 seconds?
Yeah, just, yep.
Okay, because there are a few more things, but wait, there's more. The news screen will let you configure the home page. I added a how-to page. You can add add files and pictures of files. You can put the picture right on the screen and download it, tag to a PDF of the bibliography. And yeah, use a scratch monkey. I probably destroyed more instances of Koha than pretty much anyone else who's not a developer. And just go to avengingchicken.online.
Hello, my name is Christine Nieman Hislop. I am the data education librarian for the University of Maryland, Baltimore, Region 1. I'm presenting today with Katie Pierce-Farrier, the data science strategist for the University of North Texas Health Science Center, NLM Region 3. This talk will provide some background on natural language processing as a branch of AI and how NLP powers the NLM Scrubber, a tool for clinical text de-identification. Before we dive in, I want to share a little background on who we are. We work for the network of the National Library of Medicine, also known as NNLM. The NNLM is the education and outreach arm of the National Library of Medicine, which is one of the National Institutes of Health. The NLM is composed of 7 regional offices spread around the United States, and each office offers funding for organizations and communities in their regions, in addition to a wide range of training, professional development, and education opportunities, including around data science and research data management. If you'd like to learn more, you can visit nnlm.gov. So diving in, we first want to look at the definitions and differentiations between artificial intelligence, machine learning, and natural language processing. There are many different types of artificial intelligences. It's a pretty big umbrella category, and AIs can be trained or designed to do a lot of different things. Some definitions compare AI to make or define AI as making machines think like humans, but we personally don't think this explains it very well. We prefer IBM's definition, which is, at its simplest form, artificial intelligence is a field which combines computer science and robust data sets to enable problem solving. We think this is a little more accurate for how AI actually works and functions, and that ultimately the purpose of AI is problem solving. AI can be developed and programmed to mimic and encompass a wide array of functions of human intelligence, from image creation and content generation to detecting patterns and anomalies in data. Within AI is machine learning. Machine learning is based on statistics and algorithms. The main thing to remember is that machine learning follows statistical rules and patterns to solve problems. And here's where natural language processing comes into play. So what is NLP? NLP is a type of machine learning using the rules of a language as a model to identify and predict patterns in text. So languages follow rules. We think about grammatical rules, and how words are combined and ordered is often predictable. Machine learning can be taught these rules and patterns and can use statistical reasoning to respond to questions, to write essays, translate a language, and even give directions while you're driving. NLP is where computer science and linguistics, the study of languages, overlaps. To put it simply, NLP allows computers to understand and mimic human language and speech. It can perform computations, and as we'll see, process large data sets much faster than any human. All that to say is the chances are you have probably used or interacted with an NLP fuel technology or tool before. And some common examples are Amazon's Alexa, Siri, which are both programmed to understand spoken language, and then ChatGPT. Companies also use NLP chatbots to help with basic customer service issues, though sometimes not sure if they help or just make the situation more frustrating. And another example of NLP is the NLM Scrubber. NLM Scrubber was developed by the Lister Hill National Center for Biomedical Communications, another branch of the National Library of Medicine, to identify and scrub protected health information, PHI, in medical records, and redact or remove personally identifiable information, PII. Based on the HIPAA privacy rule, the NLM Scrubber is built to understand text and recognize certain pieces of information based on the privacy rule's 18 identifiers, and replace these identifiers with the type of PII removed. So let's look at an example. In this sample, note for Betty, it includes potentially identifying features such as her name, birthplace, and where she is being treated. And in the second text file, Betty, along with the doctor's name and the parent's name, are replaced with the generic personal name in brackets. In Cincinnati, Ohio, and other locations are replaced with the generic address in brackets. Researchers can also modify what terms are preserved and what terms are marked as PII within the application. With data privacy, it's often a delicate balance between removing enough identifying information to be anonymous, but not so much that the data is no longer useful. The NLM Scrubber can facilitate the sharing of clinical de-identified data. But from the Scrubber's website, the goal of the NLM Scrubber is to produce HIPAA-compliant de-identified health information for scientific use. However, the success rate of this goal depends on the input data. As we discussed, the Scrubber has been trained using machine learning and NLP to de-identify data based on tagging and recognition of PHI in electronic health records. But since the NLP is a machine learning tool, it means that it is learning. It can be trained, but it is not going to be 100% perfect. It can improve workflows, but it's important to remember that it's the data manager's responsibility to evaluate the NLM Scrubber and if it's the right tool for their data. There are other tools out there that do similar things, like CliniDID, and I think Amazon has something similar, and they all take different approaches. So it depends on what information you may need scrubbed from your data. The human factor is essential to consider. So while the NLM Scrubber is not perfect, it is an openly available and free tool that can be used to de-identify data to HIPAA privacy standards. In 2021, a study was looking to try to reproduce experiments from a high-impact cancer biology papers. And in 68% of those, researchers were unable to obtain the data needed to reproduce them. We really hope the NLM Scrubber and tools like it can be used to de-identify clinical text data. De-identified data is more easily shared. While there are cases where you still cannot or should not share the data, using tools like this can work towards the goal of making data more accessible, reusable, and reproducible. So some ideas for how to share the NLM Scrubber with your institution. This is a freely available tool, which means anyone can download it and use it. And it's also available for different operating systems, Windows, Mac, and Linux. You can add a link to any LibGuides you have that touch on data management or data sharing. Johns Hopkins has a really good example here. There's a bit of a learning curve to the NLM Scrubber, but you could partner with faculty to offer a workshop on privacy and how to use the Scrubber. Data Privacy Week is coming up in January, and you can post about it on social media and promote to researchers at your institution. And Katie and I are also working on developing a new NLM class that focuses on NLP and how the NLM Scrubber and other tools like it can be used for de-identifying data. In the meantime, thank you for listening, and we're happy to take questions. Here's a list of our resources that we cited, as well as some articles about the NLM Scrubber, and this will be available with the slides. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Deal, and I'm here to tell you about a way we implemented fan favorite voting at an event hosted in our Digital Commons institutional repository for one of our stakeholder groups. First, some background about our institution and the event. Advocate Health Midwest is a large healthcare system spanning Wisconsin and Illinois. Our library provides services to over 70,000 individuals, and over 2,600 of those have published articles, books, and book chapters or presentations that we capture in our institutional repository. We've had an IR since 2013, and it is hosted in Digital Commons. It currently has about 7,000 items in it. Our organization has an annual Scientific Day conference, and content such as posters and presentations are hosted in our IR. Most presenters are graduate medical education residents, fellows, and faculty, and this is one of the library's key stakeholder groups. This event has been fully virtual since 2020. This past spring, the Scientific Day Committee was looking for more ways to promote engagement among attendees at the virtual event, which led us to this project. Event planners' idea was to have a new fan favorite category award for posters. They wanted a big like or thumbs up button on each poster that wouldn't require any sort of login or IP address restriction, so it would work for any conference attendees fairly seamlessly with only 1 or 2 clicks. We checked with Digital Commons support, but the platform doesn't have any sort of built-in voting system, and their proposed solution was a link embedded in each record that would send an email with identifying metadata to whatever email address we specified. This didn't quite meet our needs since it wasn't visually appealing or obvious enough for our stakeholders, so we got to work on more creative solutions. We were able to come up with something that approximated the experience of clicking a like button with just one more step. This solution also had the additional bonus of not showing other voters' cumulative like counts as most other embedded solutions would. Our library has SpringShare products, so we accomplished this using LibWizard forms. So on this slide, you can see what it ended up looking like for conference attendees. When a user clicked the button in the poster they wanted to vote for, shown on the left, it would take them into a pre-populated form, which you can see on the right, And all they had to do was click the vote button at the bottom to generate a response and cast their vote. To accomplish this on the back end, forms were created in LibWizard for each of the 2 poster categories that were eligible for a fan favorite award. So those 2 categories, there were 2, and they were general posters, and another was for case report posters. So each poster was added to the appropriate LibWizard form. So there were 2 of those 2 categories, and assigned a unique code that would pre-select that option in the form. We also designed a button-like image in PowerPoint, and we then hosted that image on our library website so it could be embedded via a pre-existing HTML-enabled field in each conference poster in our IR. The field we chose was our custom recommended citation field, since it was already HTML enabled and shows up near the top of individual work pages. This helped make the voting button clearly visible in each record. Though it was a bit fiddly, we were able to use Digital Commons batch import tool, which you can see on the left. And we did use that to add the HTML with each voting selection. So that piece of code that came from the LibWizard form, we added that to the recommended citation field, along with the code for the embedded image that looked like a button. So you can see that on the left called out. And then when the event was over, we used the batch revise tool shown on the right, once again, just in Excel, to easily remove that HTML code from all the records in the event. So that meant once voting had ended, we really didn't want those voting buttons to display in each of those IR posters any longer. And by running that batch revision, they were no longer there. Overall, we gauged this project a success. Conference attendees submitted over 450 votes during the Scientific Day virtual conference, demonstrating increased engagement. Through the process, we did learn some valuable lessons for future events. One was to make sure to allow enough time for vote tallying, depending on when that tallying needs to be done by. So LibWizard Forms only allows you to schedule them to be open and then closed by a date and not time. So since for this event, they wanted those votes tallied the same day of the event by like 5 o'clock, I went in and manually closed the form at 4 o'clock, so an hour before they needed those numbers, just so no additional votes were coming in, and I had some time to, add everything up and communicate that out. Something we also hadn't anticipated was the volume of duplicate votes that would be cast. So we hadn't turned on IP address gathering initially, since that's not a default reporting option in LibWizard. But once we noticed that that was happening, we were able to turn it on quickly and identify obvious duplicate votes pretty easily without driving ourselves crazy being the vote police. Some future plans for this functionality include recently using this outside of Digital Commons. So this fall, we had a Medical Library Association chapter meeting where we also wanted to do a kind of fan favorite category with attendee input. So to do that, since there was no IR involved, we put the LibWizard links right into a special voting program document, which was just a PDF. So attendees could vote right from there. And then also our Scientific Day committee is planning a return to their conference having an in-person component next year. So we're looking at adding QR codes to printed posters that would go straight into pre-selected forms for voting, in addition to the same virtual voting options. And that's it. So I think there's going to be time for questions at the end of the session, but here is our contact information should you have questions later on. Thank you.